I think eventually I reached a point where it's like everything kind of just like hit me at once. And I think that's really when the depression started, because everything that started to become hard.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Side of Kimchi podcast. I'm your host Elizabeth, and today I have my girl Jada with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Before we get into it, we gotta try some kimchi.
Okay.
Have you ever tried any?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't know.
I feel like you have when we went to that
Maybe, and I just
the
didn't know
Korean
what it was
restaurant.
called.
Yeah. So it is a little spicy. You have the chopsticks there.
Okay.
It is a little spicy. Okay. So there's some water there for you.
Oh, nice.
In case it
kind of messed up the chop.
And so this is a different, it's not cabbage kimchi, this is radish kimchi. So
It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, this is good.
Oh, okay. I know Kristen was like, she wanted to get some more. You can get some more if you want.
It's fine. But it's good.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you like it.
Problem.
I know my very first guest, he was like, yeah, nah.
He didn't like it?
He said it tastes like green beans.
Maybe like the texture, but it don't taste like it. But I think maybe it has like a
maybe
texture, yeah.
I don't know. But just to give people like some background information on like how we know each other.
Okay.
So Jada and I went to George Mason together. We were roommates for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I will say like we gotten closer within the past couple of years because we both live in the same area. We've been hanging out more and stuff like that. And I will say like you're one of the people like in my friend group where I have the most like low-key like deep and like intellectual conversations with. And so that's why I always love like talking with you and hanging with you because we always get into that stuff. And so recently I've learned, I mean, we shared with each other the mental health challenges that we've been through, right?
Yeah.
So y'all, this topic today is a little heavy.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You know, I feel like it's important to talk about this stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Because like for me, I told you I struggled with anxiety. Mm-hmm. And there was a certain point where I was like, dang, like, I know I'm not the only one struggling with this, but I feel like, it feels like I'm alone because I don't know any of my friends who struggle with it, you know, until like we talked about it. And so I feel like a lot of people obviously aren't comfortable with talking about it because it's very personal, right? Yeah. And I guess for me, like, just to be honest, I think I never wanted to share those things with people because I don't want to come off as like, not weak, but
like you don't want to feel like, do you feel like you're afraid of being judged for your story, or people might look at it and be like, well, why are you like about that?
Right, like I didn't want to be like judged, I guess.
Feel the same way.
Yeah. So for you, what mental health challenges have you like struggled with?
Well, I actually have generalized anxiety disorder.
Okay.
I found that out, when was it? I had told you, I think like a few months ago when I went to the doctor.
Right.
I started having physical symptoms from it. Yeah, I mean, that's something we both discussed.
Yep.
And I think that was kind of like the turning point of like, okay, this ain't right. Well, honestly, I thought it was something medical. I didn't think it was like anxiety. I just thought like something else is going on with me.
Right.
So like, but when I went to the doctor and he did like a screening, it was like, no ma'am, this is anxiety.
Yeah, that was me too. So like, that was the point in which like, I've always just been like an anxious person, right? But then like within the past year, I realized like, oh, I'm really like struggling with this because I started getting physical symptoms from it.
Yeah.
And so when I got the physical symptoms, I'm thinking like, I have a disease. I have a like physical problem. Like I need to go get checked out. Like I'm dying.
Aww.
So like I went to doctors, like cardiologists, neurologists, like all of them, like trying to figure out what's going on. I've done a bunch of tests and they're like, you're fine.
Yeah, I recently learned too that the onset age for like most anxiety disorders isn't until like your 30s, like your early 30s.
Interesting.
Okay. I don't know. I did not fact check that. I heard it on like
a
video, so I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
that's kind of like what I heard from like this therapist talking about like anxiety. I feel like we can probably have symptoms before that, way before that.
Right.
We may not, of course, realize, you know, what it is.
Yeah.
Or have like the proper diagnosis. Because I feel like everyone do to a certain extent experience anxiety. But
Yeah.
anxiety disorder, which I didn't know either before, is like its own like category.
Interesting. Yeah. Like, I wonder if, like you said, it like the onset age is 30. I wonder if that's because, so for me, when my doctor was like, yeah, like all your tests came out good, like nothing's wrong with you. And so then in my head, I'm like, there's no way my anxiety is causing physical symptoms. Like,
Yeah.
I know that that's possible. And I'm like, it's just crazy. So he was basically saying like, because I told him like, I don't feel anxious like right now. And he was saying that it's just a buildup over the years.
Yeah.
So I wondered like, that's why 30 is like the onset, because like it's just a
it
buildup of
accumulates.
your
all that. It's still stress, and all that takes a toll on your body.
right,
mind, like
right. So are there any other mental health challenges that you struggled with besides anxiety?
I think I've diagnosed. I said I think I diagnosed.
Yeah.
I never diagnosed myself, but I think I've dealt with on and off depression.
Okay.
Kind of like seasonal depression here and there.
Yeah.
But I've never got like clinically
Diagnosed with it. Okay.
Yeah, but from just like personal experience, I feel like I've dealt with a little bit of it.
Okay.
There.
And like, at what point did you kind of, like, I know for your anxiety, you said you kind of realized it once you started getting the physical symptoms, but for the depression, was there like a certain point where you're like, okay, I'm actually dealing with this?
Yeah, actually college.
Really?
Yeah, I would say like sophomore year.
Okay.
I think that was kind of like that year. Sophomore year was like one of the toughest years for me. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think I ever expressed this really to like anybody.
Really? Okay.
I was like, Lauren knew like bits and pieces and stuff, but it was just like a lot of things going on, like far as, like family life.
Right.
And then of course, you know, I didn't finish school.
Right.
Due to like financial reasons. So that was just like a huge stressor for me.
Yeah.
I can give you like a backstory so it could like
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So just like as a backstory, like growing up, it was me, my mom, my sister,
Yep.
my nephew, and my nana. She lived with us too.
Okay.
And then of course, Chris and Demi once Demi was born.
Yeah.
But my nana, she had lived with us since I was about like 12 or 13 years old. And we had just like a very like strong relationship.
Okay.
Like when I like talk about her to like people, I like really emphasize like she was literally like a second mother to me.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like a grandmother.
Yep.
And she just like poured into me
Yeah.
in, like, a lot of different ways that like I really appreciate it, and I just like never felt that type of like emotional connection I feel like with anyone.
Okay.
Of course, you know, I do feel like I still have like emotional connections with like other people in my family, but
Right.
with her, it was just I felt like she understood me in a more deeper way without me having to really like talk, explain myself.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, but it was always like a lot of tension in my household. I always felt like my household was pretty chaotic. I mean,
like who's,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
right,
And then
yeah.
it's like in my household, it was just so many strong personalities.
Yep.
You got like my mom. My mom is very eccentric. My mom is more of like a free-spirited.
Okay, that's where you get it from.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But she's free-spirited, but she's also extremely logical. So it's very like
Sounds like
interesting. It's
Yeah.
very interesting dynamic. My nana, she was more so just logical. My sister, she's logical too, but my sister was going through her own things during that time too, because she got pregnant, you know, like at 18 and stuff like that. So my nana, she just always just like, she just really spoiled me. Like, I ain't gonna lie, she just made me feel like just really special.
loved and yeah.
Yeah, and it was always, unfortunately, it's always like a lot of tension though between her and my mom relationship. Just because like my mom felt like she was spoiling me a bit too much, which I understand my mom perspective, because my mom went through like a rough childhood growing up. Like she lost her mom at like 15 years old, and she always been just like very responsible for like also like her other siblings and their children and stuff like that. So my mom has more so of a mindset like you need to make sure like you're on track to be able to like do well. Like,
Right.
she was more so focused on, like, my academics, making sure I get through school.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and she didn't want my Nana to coddle me too much. Pretty
Okay.
much. Like, she understood, like, I understand you want to, like, spoil her, but my Nana would go overboard sometimes, so I ain't gonna lie. Like,
right.
she would, like, buy me, like, boxes and boxes of, like, honey buns, treats and stuff like that. And my mom is like, she had enough of that, like,
Right. So do you think that, like, her, like, coddling you affected your mental health, like, growing up, or, like, the tension? Like, the tension between your mother and your grandmother?
Yes, I don't think necessarily her coddling me.
Okay.
But I started to feel like the pinnacle of their arguments. Like, I started feeling like, since their arguments always were in my head, and I could be wrong, but being young, in my head, most of the arguments seemed like they stem from me. So I kind of, like, took that and internalized that and started thinking I was the problem. Like, it wouldn't be so much fussing and arguing and all this stuff going on if it wasn't for, like, me. So I was kind of like, and I know that's not, like, logically that probably don't
right, but I understand why you felt that way.
Yeah, but I always felt like I was the reason for, like, their relationship being, like, uneasy and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a lot of tension, and, like, I don't know, like, my Nana, she did kind of, like, used to say things too that could be problematic.
Yeah.
When I think about it, because she felt like my mom was just, like, way too critical of me. She felt like my mom was just, like, way too hard of me, and she felt like my mom and my sister had a stronger relationship, and she used to verbalize that to me, which as a child is like, you don't really want to, like, think about that. You know, think like, oh, my mom like my sister better and things like that. So I kind of, but realistically speaking, they do have a better relationship. And I think that's just primarily because they're more compatible personality-wise, which is completely fine.
Yeah.
I still have, like, I still feel like I have a strong relationship with my mom. But I feel like they were just, my mom understood my sister a bit better than she understood me.
Okay.
Think,
And so do you think, like, you thinking that, like, you're the reason for the problems that your mother and your grandmother had with one another, and also, like, the relationship that your sister had with your mother, do you think that is when your, I guess, like, depression started kind of, like, from that time?
No, I think I was stressed out about it, but I don't necessarily think I was more so, like, depressed about that.
Okay. So you're saying the depression started when you were a sophomore in college?
Yeah, this is just, like, the backstory.
Yeah, okay.
The lead up,
right.
to, like the onset. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to get, like, all over the place.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's good to get, like, to understand why, you're feeling a certain way.
Yeah, and, like, also, like, my mom, so I don't know if you know, but she has, like, she went through, like, several, like, back and neck surgeries and injuries and stuff like that.
I didn't know that.
So my mom was never really able to work a stable job.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've always kind of, like, struggled financially. It's never been, like, too bad to the point where we don't have food. Like, she still always kept, like, a roof over our head, but my mom never really, like, worked. She would do, like, childcare here and there. So, like, my Nana, she was also there to step in, like, financially a lot for me. Like, if it wasn't for her, like, she helped when it came to, like, even going to college, like, buying all my stuff for school, like, back to school shopping. She'll make sure I get my hair done. She really helped out in that way, too, as well as, like, my dad.
Okay.
My dad, I didn't live with my dad, but he was still very much so, like, a huge part of my life, and he helped out financially, as well. But fast forward, like, back to, like, college, getting back to, like, I guess, like, when the depression started. I think it was fall semester, and I think we were about to go into, like, winter break or something like that. And then I got a call from my sister, and apparently the altercation between my mom and Nana reached its peak worse.
Really?
Yeah, so it broke out into, like, a physical altercation.
Okay. So
I didn't want my sister to have to deal with all that by herself, so I ended up coming home from school. It was near winter break anyway. So
right.
I had to go home anyway. And yeah, I think it was, like, the second day I got home, it was, like, me and my nephew there. The next morning, well, my nana wasn't there when I got there. It was just, like, me, my mom. I think my nephew was there. And I think during this time, my sister was staying with my dad or something like that. And yeah, the next morning, police came with my nana, and my mom got arrested for, like, assault. She ended up pressing charges on my mom for the physical altercation.
Okay.
She didn't, like, they arrested her or whatever. She didn't stay, like, long or anything like that. And then my Nana ended up taking out a restraining order, like my mom and sister, apparently.
Oh, okay. So your sister was...
My sister wasn't involved in the fight, but, you know, it's like, when it comes to our mom, it's like...
Right, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
I got you,
I'm pretty sure she was, like, going off.
Yep, yeah.
So, because of that restraining order, we ended up having to, like, leave our home, pretty much. Because what happened is, like, even though it was my mom's house, my Nana had been living there for so long, so you can't just, like... She couldn't just, like, kick her out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She had to give her, like, I think it was, like, a 30-day notice or something like that. And because my Nana took the restraining order out first, it prevented my mom from going back to her own home.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we end up taking all our stuff to, like, my dad's house, you know, then and stuff like that. But, yeah, I feel bad, though, because when all of that happened, like, when my Nana came with, like, the police there and everything like that, like, I kind of, like, snapped. Like, not physically, but, like...
Yeah. Like, not at anyone specifically, or...
No, I snapped at my Nana.
Oh, okay.
I said not, like, physically. Like, I didn't put my hands on her.
Yeah, okay, right.
Verbally,
Yeah.
I said some really, like, hurtful things.
Okay.
You know, that I really do regret saying. Only because, like... And I know people be like, but that's your mom, so I can understand. But it's like, yes, just because someone is your mom or father or whatever, it doesn't mean they were always right. You know what I mean? And I only got one side of the story. I never allowed my Nana a chance to tell me what happened.
Okay.
I kind of just, like, ran with what my mother said.
Yeah.
You know, and I never, like, gave my Nana a chance to say, you know, what happened. Because at the end of the day, I wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I love my mom and I love my Nana, and she was such a huge part of my life. She was literally like a second mother to me. You know what I mean? So I kind of, like, beat myself up about that. So, yeah. Anyway, we was going through all that or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think when I got back to school, of course, I was, like, you know, stressed out about
Of
all
course,
that
right.
going on. So I think that started to, like, impact, like, my grades, and I started doing poorly and stuff like that. Like,
right.
And then I think my brain just went into, like, overdrive, too, at that point. I think that's kind of, like, when the anxiety started to kick in, because I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, like, you know, what I'm going to do, my grades slipping, da-da-da-da, whatever.
Right.
So the following semester, after all that happened, going into, like, I think it was, like, spring semester or something. Yeah. The following semester, or what's this freshman year? Ooh, I can't remember.
Yeah, as time gets a little...
Yeah. But like, the spring semester, I found out my dad, he was a truck driver.
Yeah.
He'd been driving trucks since 22 years old. I found out he ended up getting into, like, a really bad accident.
Okay.
Somebody ran into him while he was, like, actually on the side of the road, which led to him having, like, really bad, like, injuries from that. Having to go through, like, this long, extensive court case.
Yeah.
And pretty much at that point, I didn't have any, like, help financially, because my mom's not working, my Nana's out my life, and now my dad's not working.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just got hard. You know, I did end up getting a job on campus, but it wasn't enough for me to, like, fully
stay in school.
Yeah, stay in school while also, like, support myself and stuff like that. And just being fully transparent, because I feel like some people probably go through this.
Yeah,
it led to also me getting into, like, a lot of debt.
Okay, right.
So I started taking out, like, a lot of predatory loans just to be able to afford necessities, you know, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And eventually got to the point where I'm like, I can't. It's just not realistic.
It's just too much, right? Yeah.
It's not realistic. So I think that's kind of, like, the point where I was just, like, depressed. I don't think people really noticed in school, but I was, like, I was checked out. But
I didn't notice it either, because was that when we were all living together?
I think so.
Yeah, because, like, you stopped going to George Mason, like, but that same year you were still living with Kennedy and Lauren.
Yeah, I stopped going to George Mason, I think, my junior year.
Yeah, right.
The first semester of junior year.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've noticed that. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about going through, like, mental health challenges is, like, you have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I was fully checked out. I felt like I was just floating. Like, I think in my head, I was just trying. I do really feel like I was trying my best to just, like, get through it, because I always, like, I felt like my whole purpose was just being able to finish school to get of course, get a great job to support my family. Like, my main goal was to always like just have enough money to like take care of my mom. Because I felt like she went through a lot, growing up and stuff like that. And she's dealing with her stuff. And my mom also has depression, clinical depression and anxiety, or mental health disorders.
Okay.
So I kind of just felt like it was like up to me. And it's crazy because my sister has the same feeling. Like, we always felt like it was up to us to kind of like work hard to take care of our family, make sure everybody's straight. So I guess I started kind of feeling like a failure, because it was like, I'm like, and I almost started to feel like, what am I doing here? Like, is this even like for me? You know what I mean? I probably just need to go home and work, which is what I eventually did.
Right.
And sometimes that's just what it is. I feel like not everyone's life is like built in a way for them to just like go to college, and that's not the only way either.
Right. And I think like you said, like you had specific goals in mind, and then like when you saw like, okay, like I won't be like graduating college, right? And like I feel like sometimes accepting something that you've just been working towards so long is like, and it doesn't happen, it's hard to accept.
Yes, it was hard.
Like I've envisioned like this lifestyle for me too. Like, and the fact that it didn't go that way, it was really hard for me to accept that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what also contributed to my anxiety as well. Cause like I feel like I always felt the need to like be in control of everything.
Yes, that's what it is, control.
Yeah, and so it's like when you're out of control and when things happen that you didn't plan for, it's like I start like worrying more.
Yeah, you start to worry, you start to think like, well, if I don't have the money to pay for school, then it's like, I'm not gonna be able to get a good job.
Yeah, and then your mind starts like going down this.
But I feel like, a part of life is just those uncontrollable situations that are out of our control. And it's like, all you can really do is accept what's going on and come up with alternate solutions. And that's kind of like what I did. I'm like, okay, well, clearly the school thing isn't working. So what's next? Next thing that came to my mind was obviously go home, find a job, save up, with the hopes of eventually maybe you can go back to school and stuff like that. So I did that, ended up going home. Fast forward, I ended up, working. I had an internship. Actually, the internship that I started working at is the same job I'm up now. So I just built my way up. From my job or whatever like that. But yeah, that was kind of like one of the points of like, I guess, my anxiety and depression and stuff. But it's just like things started to happen back to back, because after I left school and stuff like that, I ended up finding out like a year later that my Nana died.
Oh, okay.
And it's weird, because when I found out that she passed, I actually had a dream like, I think a few months before she passed away. I had a dream that she told me she was going to be passing away, and she wanted to like talk to me. Like in my dream, I had that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And long story short, I'm stubborn. My mom, I felt like she wasn't ready yet, and I kind of just like went with that. So I was just like, I'm not ready. And I beat myself up about it, because just being honest, like, for one, it was probably a bit immature on my end to never let her, have her closure and stuff like that, or to say how she feel and stuff. So once she died, I didn't process it immediately. When I found out, I think I took like a day off of work, and then the following day, I just like went back working, functioning as normal. I wanted to kind of like just not
think about it
too much. But that's someone who's been in my life for a long time.
Right.
A huge part.
Right.
And it's like okay to grieve that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think eventually I reached a point where it's like everything kind of just like hit me at once. And I think that's really when the depression started, because everything just started to become hard.
Oh, okay. Like just little like things, like even just going to work and all of that. You're saying like the daily activities were hard to do.
Yeah. I think because I was trying to disassociate from it. I wasn't trying to deal with it.
Okay,
and
right.
I think I do that. I think I still do.
Yeah,
to a certain extent, do that a lot.
Yeah.
When it comes to things that are just too emotional for me, I just kind of like
suppress it.
I suppress it, and I just feel like as long as I think about something else and just
but then it's like that whatever you're suppressing is like never resolved. It'll always come up some way somehow.
Yeah.
So like today, like how do you how do you cope with it? Like, just the challenges that you go through in life and, like, mental health. Like, are there any specific, like, strategies or, like, coping mechanisms that you do?
Yeah. So I feel like as of last year, my mental health, I made it like a goal to like work on, you know, since like 2022. Only because I had like a huge health scare, you know, about that. Like, on, like my birthday.
Yep.
So ever since then, I was like, Jada, you really need to take care of yourself. And that includes like your mental health, your physical health. Because I also feel like for a while I was neglecting my physical health too as well.
Yep. And that can greatly affect like,
So what I did was I was like, well, just create a routine that prioritizes your mental health, physical health, and work-life balance.
Yep.
So like I would just like, so like now I do things like, you know, I'm into like photography and stuff like that.
Like picking up hobbies and
like in the middle, I work from home. So like during a lunch break, I'll just go outside, take my camera outside and just take in nature.
Yeah.
Take pictures of pretty butterflies, take pictures
I'm gonna link her
birds.
her Instagram page because she be taking really dope photos.
But to me, it was more so like beyond just like taking pictures. It was more so like an outlet.
Yep.
And I just have a mindset now of like just appreciating the small things.
Yes.
You know, enjoying your day-to-day life.
Yes.
You know, because that's all you can really control.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Like, stop trying to control everything and just try to control like your moments to moment.
Right. And just being grateful for like someone out there could probably dream of having the life that you have and like pursuing photography. You know, it's like that's what I've learned too. Is just to be grateful for the little things because you never know.
And just find ways to find like happiness and meaning in like the small things.
Yes.
And just don't be too hard and be too critical on yourself. Like I'm a big advocate for that. Like life is short at the end of the day. Like, don't feel like you have to, because I also had the issue of just feeling like I need to always be productive. I need to always be doing stuff. I need to always be working towards something. When it's like, listen, if I want to sit outside, enjoy this cup of coffee.
If I want to lay in bed all day, watch Netflix.
Fine.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, as long as it, to me, it's like, as long as it's not to a point where it's like harmful.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Girl, have that glass of wine. You know.
Like do that. Things that you want to do.
Do things to make you happy. Like. Just take care of yourself. Just for like some practical tips, I noticed that once I started like taking hold of like just like my health, doing things like drinking more water, working out, you know, really getting into like my skincare routine. And just really, I feel like I'm kind of like just almost remothering myself too, also in a way. Like back then, you know, my mom dealt with her things, so she was always like just focused on like, you know, school projects, you know, just like getting things done.
Right.
I felt like I kind of missed out on certain things, like just like, I guess, like my femininity part of myself.
Okay.
Like, so I feel like now I'm kind of like in my feminine era. Like
Yeah.
my area, you know.
Yes,
like,
as you should be.
Go get my nails done.
Right. Let me take myself to the spa.
Yeah. Like, things like that is good.
Yeah, no. At the end of the day, it's important to just take care of yourself. And, I mean, I think we both realized how truly important, like, mental health is. Like, it can really... Like I said, it can produce physical symptoms, and it can really affect everything.
Yeah, I mean, they proved that in psychology. Like,
exactly. Yeah. So hopefully, I hope the listeners found this episode helpful. Just, you know, just talking about it, you know, I think really helps as well.
And I think therapy, you know, I actually about to get therapy. I have my first appointment May 14th.
Oh, okay.
May 14th. Yes. So
therapy, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everyone should be in therapy, but you know, that's just my opinion. Yeah, but well, yeah, that concludes another episode of the Side of Kimchi podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.